everybody, it's Peanut Butter Kong. In this video, I'm going to be showing off a passion project of mine. I created, as a solo player, a shop that sells every item in the game. I'm going to tell you how I was able to create the best, most creative, and dominant shop on a server. I'm going to run through the philosophy of how to price items. I'm going to describe how I started from a very small shop as a solo player and what I focused on to expand. I'm going to describe what you should try to achieve as a mid-game shop. Then I'm going to describe a ton of creative ideas that are beyond a basic chess shop. It'll help create a sense of community and you'll help make your server one of the best ones out there. And then once I've laid out how to have the best shop on your server, I'm going to give you some tips on how you can attract players. Let's start with one of the most important things that you can do as a shop owner. You need people to supply your chests. Minecraft has a near limitless amount of items. The amount of time it takes to collect all these items in mass quantities for an active, large server is impossible as a solo player. So one of the things I do at my shop is I advertise to people that if they need cash, they can buy simple items and craft up. Let's highlight a specific example. If you were to buy sugarcane at my shop, you could craft paper and sell it at profit. Then you could take that paper and buy the needed leather and make a profit by selling the book to me at my shop. And the same structure for books to book cases. Thus, all this really means that you get paid for your labor. So as a shop owner, your suppliers have an incentive to keep even the most rare and obscure items stocked at all times. Thus, you'll have a functioning shop for people to buy goods at. So now that you have relative pricing down, you will need to have an understanding of the market clearing prices on your specific server. And this is something that you'll probably just get a feel for as you start doing it. You'll need people to supply you, so if your chests are empty, that means that the price you're offering to suppliers is way too low. And you'll need a price to incentivize buyers to buy from you. Now, as you might be able to see here, the price a supplier can supply the shop is $999,000. And on the left-hand side, if you want to buy from it, that would cost $1 million. Obviously, these margins are super tight, and it really depends on how competitive is the server, how much money you want to make, or just how you want to run your shop. Do you do it mostly for the benefit of the server, or just yourself? For some items in the game, you likely aren't going to sell much of it, so you should have a higher margin, maybe a 50 or 30% margin. So you'll need to sell it 3 times or 2 times over to break even. And that's to break even when a supplier fills up your chest, which is really the ultimate end goal. So, how do you start a shop with no money as a solo player? Simply with some of the most basic items. I started out with a double chest of wood and expanded with stones, dirt, ores, all the stuff I've been showing you previously. And remember, I only had one double chest of each of these items. But I had a goal at this stage. My goal was to have a fairly good margin so I could build up some cash to expand the inventory that I offered. Once I started having some more inventory, I started focusing on a colored block shop. That is all of the colored blocks in the game, such as you're seeing now. This is colored terra, colored glazed terra, wool, and the color blocks themselves. And over here, this is stuff like the colored stained glass, concretes, and concrete powders. I do want to point out a likely reality in the early stages. You'll probably need to stock some of the chests yourselves, but try not to indulge in this too much. Try to make sure it actually functions and people want to buy and sell from you. because that will be the best and easiest way. So, you've graduated to a mid-game shop, and I would describe a mid-game shop as a stage of the shop's life where you're expanding the inventory and you might be thinking about expanding the quantity of items you sell. So rather than a single double chest, you're selling a ton of chests. I do want to highlight some ideas for the non-block items. Since there are so many, I think it's easy to miss or to forget some general categories. Keep in mind this is a 1.12 server, so one of the most basics are the food items, but don't forget to have all of your cooked raw meats, coarse fruits and flowers, a milk bucket, enchanted golden apples, golden carrots, and you'll probably want to throw in a glycerin melon. Want an area for decoration. Don't forget there's flower pots, dead bushes, webs, water lilies, vines. You'll want all of your mob drops, any kind of mining gear that you could get in the game. An area dedicated to explosions and fire. This is always a fan favorite on servers. You'll want a wall with all of the miscellaneous items in the game, saddles, name tags, spectral arrows, or some really high margin things like beacons, elytras, end crystals, dragon heads, wither skeleton heads. Shulker box is always a must. All of the potions in the game. The potion gear I like to sell next to all of the potions listed in alphabetical order with the max variants of each kind, and any kind of the harming potions with a splash variant. If your server has spawners for sale, try to get all the spawners that you can, and any kind of spawn eggs that there exists. Don't forget about all the types of music discs. I like to order these in alphabetical order and have jukeboxes and note blocks right next to them. This is a fun one that I usually don't see, but all of the perfect tools in the game, both fortune and silk variants of axes, pickaxes, and spades. I do want to note there's a quirk with these chest shop plugins, all the ones that I use, because they do run off of game IDs, and unfortunately, you could have an item that you might think is the same exact thing, but there's actually maybe 2 or 3 game IDs attached to that. The reason that I notice this occurs is because the efficiency or the unbreaking enchantments might have been placed or are shown differently on each pickaxe. So in this case, I just have 2 signs for each of the special tools. You will want an area for all redstone items. These could also include hoppers, anvils, chests, and signs. Another area that I have are all the enchanted books, list in alphabetical order, and I just include the max version of each enchanted book. Only having the max enchanted book version does definitely help out the functionality of the shop. I did used to run another shop that sold all the variants of the books. It was way larger of a section, way more confusing to navigate, and the players just will want the max version of each book. So when you have suppliers focusing on the small books, this definitely hurts the demand and supply functions and will lead to a less efficient shop. And this might be a server specific thing, but if your server has special monthly items, make sure you try to sell those at your shops. People will love you more. And don't forget about Dragon's Breath. And with Dragon's Breath, you can make special arrows like arrows of weakness or slowness or harming. Don't forget those. So, you have a mid-game shop and you're trying to expand the quantity of items you have. One of the things that I did that I think is really helpful is I had a chest system so that the glowstone lamps, when they're on, represented that there's quantity in a double chest, and when they're off, it means that there's nothing in it. Thus, you could avoid the hassle that people ask what chests are empty or full, and you can have a system so that suppliers can easily figure out what they need to supply the shop and what's needed and missing, especially as people could buy a ton of quantities of any particular item. At the end of the video, I will have a link to my other video that will show you how to do something very similar to what you're seeing here. So you have a similar light shop system. And it's not just about mass quantity. You are going to want to sell some items, especially the ores, in single quantities, such as gold ingots, diamonds. So you create a chest for almost every item in the game in Minecraft. Now it's time to talk about some of the things you can do that's related to it, or that could have a community or a fun aspect. One fun idea that I think a ton of people will enjoy is a casino. Casino could obviously have some games. Some little fun thing I have right here, some flashing lights with a dollar bill sign. Thought that was a nice little touch. Now, just a little note on casino games. I think you could totally get more creative. On my server, there were some redstone functionalities that were disabled, so I had to get a little bit creative around what kind of games I could do. What you're looking at right now will probably work on most servers because you just need a minecart and some powered rails. And how this game works is that the minecart will spin around and there will be a lever that a player will have to start or stop the function of the minecart, and whoever calls the right color will get the prize. And you could have the prize be whatever it is. You could make it double the prize value or triple. It totally depends. On this, I calculate out the odds on my number of colors so I could offer certain odds that would favor the casino house. And due to the limited redstone functions, I had something very similar over here with just 50-50 odds. Either lands on an emerald block or a gold block. Another system I had was a system where there's a sticky piston and it pushed a block to the middle, to the left, or to the right, and you'd flick this lever right here, and depending on how many flicked it, it could end up on either side, in the middle, or whatever. So if you guessed it right, you would win a prize, and if you guessed it wrong, you would lose. So I'd have a bit of an interlude on showing more of actual shops, and to overview some ideas kind of quickly, you could have a PvP arena. In this PvP arena, you could have an area for land, water, archer battles. You could even set up an area for betting on all of these different kinds of fights. Another idea that is a little bit more relaxed is you could have a trivia show and prizes for whoever wins trivia. I found this was sometimes a hit with the community. You could have a haunted house, a roller coaster, a zoo, a hall of fame, restaurants, a garden area, a banner shop, a Christmas market. All these things totally add to a community aspect on a server. Another fun idea that could be a part of your store you could sell things is a fireworks shop. Fireworks have so many different variants in them. The fireworks shop itself can be giant. You could have so many different floors, and part of the reason you have so many different floors are there are so many different base effects. Just some of these is a large ball explosion effect, which is used by having a fire charger. Another type is a star-shaped base effect, which is used with a golden nugget. You can have so many different more. There's head variants, there's a feather variant, which creates a burst explosion. We're going to get even more into the variants. So because there's so many variants, you're definitely going to have to lay out your firework shop very purposefully. And as you go down, you're going to notice all these different colored blocks. These are all the different colors of fireworks you can have. We're going to be taking a look at the black firework chest shop. So I laid out the black firework stars from in the bottom chest shop having no additional effect other than the base effect of the large ball. And then we're in the middle chest shop, we just added the trail effect, which is by adding a diamond to that firework star. And in the top chest, we added full effects to this. This is going to have the trail effect and the twinkle effect. So that is a diamond and a glowstone effect added to the firework star. So now that I have all the firework stars, you need to make a way to make rockets, which is why I have chests full of paper and gunpowder there. Since not many people know how to make a fire rocket, I provide some steps. First, you start out with a fire star, then you add paper, and then you add some amount of gunpowder. You could add 1, 2, or 3 gunpowders, depending on how high you want to go. If you add 1, it's going to go very low. If you add 3, it's going to go very high. And 2, it's just a medium height. And then you get your fire rocket. So just showing this off what it looks like, that's a low rocket. You can have a medium rocket and a high rocket. And you can have some colored rockets. I totally recommend using a dispenser with some redstone instead of your hands to shoot up a ton of rockets at once, so you can make a really cool show for everyone who's watching. So you have a totally epic shop. What are some ways you could attract players to your shop? One way to make sure your shop is popular is have some mob spawners attached to it. And one thing great about having this as well is that your mob drop chest will always be full and your prices will be really efficient in the marketplace, so you won't misprice things. And what about those mobs that are really tricky to get to spawn on a server and you figure out how to mass produce something? So right here is a squid farm that I was able to create myself, where at the end it turned out something semi-simple. You have water come into a tank and leave, and when this happens, that squid spawner will spawn squids. And they will fall to their death once it disappears. Having some kind of unique mob grinder will surely make your shop really popular. And note, if you don't offer something like this and someone else has it, it could totally tank the market prices of those items. Right here, something kind of fun. You have some letters that are based off a head database that you basically have to pay to get, but you could offer it for free if you've paid on the server, and you can include some fun things like animal heads. One of the surest ways to attract people to a shop is a money farm. And that money farm will need to be some kind of automated process. On this server, I take advantage of an automatic cooking farm, cooking raw meat into cooked meat, and there's a skill that will get paid for doing that. So let's just show you how this works. So this is a blaze mob, and players can come into my shop, whack this blaze mob with a sword, and what they're doing right now is they're getting blaze rods, which is great because it could act as fuel for cooking. And players can sell me that fuel in these chests, and those chests are going to hook up to this elaborate cooking system on the other end, where I stand somewhere and I'm going to spawn some pigs. So these pigs are going to take some fall damage to their deaths and are going to be hooked up to an elaborate hopper system, which effectively just connects them to furnaces with the blaze rods that people are collecting before, and those pigs are going to get cooked in each furnace here. If I hang out at the top and spawn pigs, I will collect money from the cooking skill plugin, which a good number of servers have some similar form of making money on their server. Inevitably, a cooker setup like that will confuse some players, so I have a ton of chests with all of the raw inputs that you'd need to stick in a furnace, and this is just a great add-on and something that could attract people to your store. Besides spawning other mobs like a guardian spawner, you could have a gold farm. That's right, the AU stands for gold, the atomic symbol. And that gold farm can look something like this, where you whack a zombie pigman with a sword. This has a very high looting on it, just for reference. That's why you see a ton of gold come out. And I wouldn't be too surprised to learn that a server that you might play on could use the MCMO plugin, which basically allows you to take any gold sword that you might get from one of these mobs, and then you can convert it into a gold ingot. Some other fun ideas to attract people to your shop is to have some villagers attached to it. So players could trade in some useless items for something useful, like an enchanted book, and that'll just help keep some of your random shops supplied. And here I'm showing off an enchantment table, along with everything that you could possibly want to enchant in Minecraft. So basically anything that anyone has a desire to do, you want to make sure that you provide. So that brings me to some of the last ways you could attract people to your shop, and that's just shamelessly advertising your shop in chat. People might respond, they might love you if you've treated them well. Some other advertisement you can do in your shop is just to say that you could have a free giveaway. You might be able to guess that I have a ton of diamond blocks in my inventory, and I'm going to be giving it away to whoever shows up. It's definitely more fun to sometimes have some different items that you're tossing on the ground, but right now I'm just going to be tossing a ton of diamond blocks. So I want to have some full transparency. I uploaded this video after a huge break on the server. It's amazing to see everyone still get excited when I'm around and that people are still using the shop. Thank you to everyone who has used my shop in the past, allowing me to follow my dreams on the server and build an everything shop that is insanely massive. Thank you all so very much.